You know, even though I'm not really a religious person, every time I get really, like, bad acne, I always imagine it's just God trying to, like, just annihilate my security and just trying to make my mental state so unstable to the point where I'm just gonna have a breakdown just because I have a few zits. That's what I think most of the time. That's what keeps me up at night. So, Elle. Elle is not Elle, is Elle. Elle? I don't fucking know. I've learned French before, and I know Elle is she or her, but for some reason I can't. I'm having a hard time pronouncing the title. Let's just call it Elle. So Elle. Here's the thing: despite La La Land being this as great of a movie as it is, it's kind of becoming this award-winning machine at this point, and everybody's saying that Emma Stone's gonna win Best Actress at the Oscars, and it probably is gonna be the case. However, a lot of people are saying that it's either gonna be Emma Stone, or as this extremely powerful dark horse, it's gonna be Isabelle Huppert for Elle. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. It's a French movie, and, you know, usually the Best Actress category at the Oscars goes to some American film or a British film. It doesn't really go to a foreign language movie. So I thought maybe the acting is so good that they just have to give it to it. Also, what really interested me to watch this film was that it's directed by Paul Verhoeven. The guy who directed, like, Starship Troopers and RoboCop and Total Recall. Like, I know he works with Danish people, but I never saw him as a guy who would direct a French film. So, you know, it all seemed too weird to be true. So I watched it, and here's the thing. The film is not... It's not a normal movie. What seems like a very normal film on the outside is it's an extremely disturbing film. It's a really twisted movie if you really think about it, but it all works. You can see where Paul Verhoeven's influences come and where other influences come into the film also. So let's talk about the fact that Paul Verhoeven directed this first. So Verhoeven, at least to me, usually uses extreme amounts of violence, and he uses sexuality, you know, just sexuality in general, in a very excessive way. RoboCop, that's definitely violent. Starship Troopers, they kind of play with sexuality here and there. And if you get into some of his darker movies, like as stupid as it is, you know, when we talk about, like, Hollow Man, there's a fucking rape scene in Hollow Man. Let's just get that out there. So he has a tendency to kind of use sex and violence in a very non-artistic way. It's just his thing. He just uses them for the sake of, I don't know, some sense of exploitation. But in this film, strangely enough, because he's been around for a while, it's kind of stylistically trimmed. You can, like, see the Hitchcockian influence when it comes to the cinematography, the very, you know, laid-back, average daily life settings, and the music kind of reminds me a lot of what Bernard Herrmann did for Vertigo. Then there's the violence and the sexuality, which in this case is less exploitative, and it feels more like it's trying to explore it. Honestly, the director that comes to mind right away was Brian De Palma, who's also very influenced by Hitchcock. But in this case, De Palma was much more focused on the act of violence, not really the philosophy behind it, but the intention behind it. So you can clearly see Verhoeven taking a lot from De Palma in this film, again, with the cinematography, with the blood, with the violence, with the rape scenes, with the exploration through these really screwed up, not even like Freudian ideas of sex and identity. But at the same time, it's also influenced by Golden Age Hollywood, like, badass female main character films that usually has, like, Katharine Hepburn or Lauren Bacall as the main character. So it really, this film really shows his veteran experience as a director. It might not be his most entertaining movie. I'm not sure if it's going to be, like, the big film that's going to kind of kind of stamp down his legacy in cinema. I feel like a lot of people will remember eventually in like 5 years. They'll probably remember RoboCop more and Starship Troopers more, even though I think this film is probably way better than RoboCop and Starship Troopers. And by the way, I'm just gonna say this right now. Elle is really good. It was way better than I expected it to be. So, thematically, that's where it really hits hard. So I'm just gonna talk about the small things first. The acting. There's really not much to say about the acting. It's great. Even though I loved La La Land to death, I think Huppert should win because Emma Stone's acting wasn't really good if you don't put Ryan Gosling's performance into that equation as well. The reason those two actors seem to be so good in La La Land was because the chemistry was so good. In this case, Huppert alone, when she's just like standing around, just sitting around, just doing whatever the character's doing, it's so natural. There's this strange sense of subtle trauma going on, and it's really confident as well. There's this coldness, but you get that it's just her personality. It doesn't come off as this really lazy form of acting. I really want to see more of her in like some older movies because, seriously, she's really good. Like I've seen that she's actually worked with Claude Chabrol, who's an extremely great director, and I really want to see this stuff. She really reminds me of Lauren Bacall in like The Big Sleep or something in this movie. And everybody else is good. Everybody else is good. There's not really much to say about the acting. It's good. It's good. We can end it there because the themes are really the most important thing about this movie. Stylistically, it's great. The acting is great, but thematically, thematically, the themes are really what makes this movie so good. Like, I'm not even sure what kind of genre it is. At times, it's really funny. And it's technically a mystery. The main story is technically a mystery. It's kind of a, cat and mouse story. It has some, like, Freudian fuckery going on. It's about rape. It's about feminism. It's about... I don't fucking know. For those who don't know, the film starts with a rape scene, which might kind of make a lot of people uncomfortable, which I totally understand. There are other rape scenes in the movie too, so just so you know, if you hate rape scenes, this is not the movie for you because it's not just one rape scene. There's like 3 rape scenes, and it's always the same 2 people, and it's fucked up. So after the first rape scene, it introduces the main character Michelle as a very, very, very strong female character, at least mentally. No, not physically, but mentally. Because she's obviously traumatized. She's freaked out. But she kind of just goes on with her life. She's just kind of waiting to she's kind of thinking about how she's gonna say and tell other people about what happened with the rape. And she's very calculated. She's very calm about it. And at first, that might seem odd because for us normal people, we're like, well, if I got raped, I would be just going around telling people about it, trying to catch this rapist in my own hands. I would probably go to the police. But we kind of see where her personality comes from, and all of it is slightly explained. She has some conflicts with her mother, who's kind of a spoiled brat at this point. She has extreme conflicts with her son, who's married this this blonde girl who's kind of a social psychopath. Technically she also has a conflict with her daughter-in-law to be. She also has she has a good relationship with her ex-husband, but she has this undertone of, I don't have enough experiences in relationships to understand really what's going on with her and the ex-husband, because the ex-husband gets a girlfriend, and whenever the main character and the girlfriend of the ex-husband have a conversation, it's so, like, I know there's something there, but I'm not mature enough to get it, and it really frustrates me. She also has a lot of conflicts with her coworkers, and the main conflict really comes from the fact that, well, all these conflicts kind of build to the point where they finally show you what her main problem is, where her main inner conflict comes from, and that's the fact that in her past, when she was 10 years old, her father went on this mass murder spree, and he came back home, and they, together, started burning stuff in the house. Of course, she didn't know what was going on, but her past, in the form of her father, and maybe in the form of the characteristics of her father, comes back to her. This rape, this act of violence reminds her of her past, the kind of past that she was running away from. And when I explained this to you, you might have noticed that, and by the way, this all happens in like the first half hour, so you might think that it throws too much, which was exactly what I thought in the first hour or so. But at that point, the rape almost doesn't even feel important. It just feels like it's something that happened, and it's not going to be mentioned again. It's just going to be about this character. But calmly, but surely and slowly, the film starts to address and explore all of these conflicts one by one with such emotion and humor and detail. It constantly, and all of this humor and these details constantly builds Michelle as this intensely interesting character that's kind of hard to put down into words. And as you're just following this movie, by the first hour, you're totally hooked. Because her past becomes more interesting. Her reactions to past her past things become more violent. You kind of start to realize she's a very fucked up person inside. Not because she's a psychopath or anything, not because she's crazy, but because her past and her relationship with her father and her mother and her son and her coworkers and her best friend's husband, who she's having an affair with, it all kind of culminates in her becoming not really the most adequate person in the world. And, she's still constantly running away from it. She almost denies it. So she's slightly fucked up. But then, around like the hour and a half point of the film, she starts to have this strange relationship with the rapist who is revealed. And the act of rape itself becomes the physical act of closure. Which sounds really fucked up. And it is. The movie's very fucked up. The way it treats rape. Like rape becomes so symbolic in the towards the gesture of making her a better person that it's almost questionable. But, the act of rape is her accepting her past and relishing in the embarrassment and the fear and the history of her father and the history between her and her parents. And after she conquers all of this, after the second or third rape scene, she becomes more honest. She becomes more moral. She becomes stronger. She sees the wrong in her ways, especially her affair with her best friend's husband. And she's much more accepting of who she is and who her parents were. And that she kind of accepts that she is a fucked up person and she's not going to run away from it. And it's not like she's going to start doing crazy shit. It's not like she's going to turn into a mass murderer. No. She's a fucked up person. That's okay. I can deal with this. I should just not try to deny this. I should not try to run away from it. And I should not try to act out on it and not rebel towards it by just kind of screwing up my own life. This all comes from this closure, this physical act of closure in the form of rape. And the thing is, her own inner demons and her own inner conflicts are all solved like this. But her relationships with her son, her best friend, her ex-husband, these relationships are still uncertain, which kind of comes back to the film just trying to say, it starts with you. You still have all this shit to get over with. You still need to, mend bridges with other people. And the film, as fucked up as it is, kind of ends on this really modest and authentic note that I don't know, man. It's a movie. It really is a movie about rape. Everybody might say, "Oh, it's got a rape scene. It's got a rape scene." And when you hear it, when you hear that, you might probably say, "Well, it's probably just one part of the film. I can deal with that." But no, the movie really is kind of about rape. And obviously, the movie's not trying to say, "Well, we can all become better people and accept our flaws by being raped." No, that's not what the film is saying. Obviously, it's just that in this case, it's symbolic of closure. And this film really shouldn't have worked. It really shouldn't have worked at all, but the acting is so good. The writing is so good. The directing, the filmmaking, the cinematography, the strange use of Iggy Pop's Lust for Life and Roxy Music's Do the Strand and all this 70s proto-punk music happening in the background, and the colors, the use of red, the use of yellow, the use of blue, these slight messages of religion and faith in the midst of the conversations that I'm not even gonna get into because that's gonna make this review way too long. It already is way too long anyways, so I'm gonna say this. Elle is it's probably, at least so far, my second favorite movie of 2016. Right below La La Land. La La Land makes me happy, makes me want to be ambitious, it makes me want to make movies. Elle is just way too impressive because it's a film that shouldn't have worked. And not only did it work, it's just really good. I don't fucking know. I don't know how he did it. So, props to Paul Verhoeven, and props to Huppert. She's 63 or 64 now, and she's still doing these risque performances. And it's, props to her. It's fucking commendable. Meryl Streep will never do this shit. But she's just going at it. She's yeah, I'll get naked on camera. I'll get raped on camera. I don't give a shit as long as the movie is good, and as long as the performance is good. I don't give a shit, I'll do anything, and that's just fucking commendable. So yeah, 4 out of 4. It's really, really good. You should also go and see it. Obviously, if you get triggered from anything that has to do with rape, do not see this movie. But if you can handle that, totally see this. This is better than Things to Come. I can see why she was nominated for an Oscar for this, and I hope she wins. I honest to God hope she wins. So yeah, 4 out of 4. Elle, bye.